Hello, my friend, and welcome to the Sales Podcast. This is Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. And hold on to your britches. Got Mr. Leonard Kim on today. Leonard is an interesting individual. He is a brand expert and a personal branding expert. And we get into why I have shied away from that in the past, especially from my clients. But he has a unique approach. I took a lot of notes. I'm already implementing some things. And I literally just finished his interview about 50 minutes ago. So we're cleaning this up, getting this produced. We've started a little campaign on Twitter. Hashtag Bruised Banana Eaters. So check that out. Help us retweet that. It has already begun. We have artwork. We have a hashtag. It is out, and it has already been retweeted within minutes. So help us get to that. And we'll talk about that towards the end. But you're in for a treat. Like I said, he is an interesting individual, still young, 32 years old, moved back in with his grandmother, was sleeping on a friend's couch, broke his ankle, had his electricity turned off. Now he has nearly 500,000 followers on Twitter, his own business, his own course, and he is making things happen. And he has some practical advice. We got into the weeds on some things on how he brings on interns, how he leverages assistants, how they keep him out front and center to build his own brand. So you're going to learn a lot in this episode, I guarantee it. And as I mentioned in the last episode, please check out the Dig Deep offer that I've created out of kind of a blend of a couple of programs. It's a way I've had so many people really going back to October, November of last year. I've done more personal, one-on-one consulting than I ever have in my 11 years of having the Sales Whisperer. And I didn't go after it. People just came to me and I started doing it. We've had good results. I've liked doing it. I always talk about scaling. And one-on-one does not scale, but I still like doing it. And the problem, though, is it's expensive for most people. It's unaffordable for most people. I get it. So I'm testing this out. I'm offering it to my listeners. It's not even linked yet on my website. You'll hear it here, and you can click right to it. But if you go to digdeep.today, you can see an overview of the program, and you can get started with the IPA, my initial process assessment. Super affordable. You'll get a questionnaire. Then we're going to schedule one-on-one time, a recorded session, audio, video, screen sharing, and we'll work on what you need. And you may not know what you need, but during that session, we'll figure it out. Okay? It's what I do. I'm good at it. It can happen fast. It should happen fast. Anybody that wants to string you along and drag things out, they're either not good, okay? They're either incompetent or they're pulling the wool over your eye, right? And they're untrustworthy. So let's figure it out together. Let's do it quickly. And then if we both agree that you could benefit from my 90-day or 6-month program, then we'll talk about it. But most people are good to go from that one session to at least have the guidance, okay? And so you can aggressively move forward towards a clear goal. And that's the biggest thing. It's the indecision. We're not sure where we want to go. We're not sure we're on the right path, so we just kind of meander. And that hanging out in the middle of the road, it's going to get you run over. So let's figure out your path and help you accelerate down it, okay? Now let's bring on our guest. Leonard Kim, wobbler, fellow SoCal resident, and cupcake aficionado. Welcome to the Sales Podcast, man. How the heck are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Wes. I appreciate being here. And I just waddled my way through just to see you.
Well, you are quite gracious, and it's no wonder you wobble. I mean, I do a Google search for you, and what do I find? I find you eating a cupcake. I mean, is that your specialty? Do you get paid to eat cupcakes? Because if so, I want to know how you do that.
You know what? I should get paid for eating cupcakes, but I haven't got a check yet. I got checks for other things like going on vacations and going on trips, but no one's paid me to eat a cupcake yet.
Well, you probably ate a cupcake when you were on vacation, so it kind of counts.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I got paid to eat a cupcake.
There you go. Deep musings from the Sales Whisperer. I won't even charge for that one, all right?
Okay, I'll take that advice to heart.
So, man, you have an interesting story. Did I read correctly? Let me see. I got a couple of screens here. Branding, marketing, and startup strategist. Well, first of all, you got a Wikipedia page. So you know what? That's pretty cool. One day, maybe, I will have a Wikipedia page. But you have a Wikipedia page. That's kind of cool. But you're still young, right? 32 years old. But you did not arrive where you are the easy way, did you?
No, it was pretty tough. But you know what's the coolest thing about having a Wikipedia page?
What is that?
You can tell someone to Google your birthday.
But do you actually like get anything? Like, do people send you stuff, or do they just like give you a quick tweet, "Hey, happy birthday" from their bot?
Well, I try to hide my address from the internet, so no, I don't really get anything. But I know our mutual friend Winnie, like she gets stuff like all the time, and I think that's because she puts her address out there. I hide my address. I don't want free stuff.
Well, they can look up your company and send it to the corporate address, right?
They could. Yeah, I guess they could do that.
I think people are lazy nowadays.
Yeah, it's pretty hard for me to mail something too. It takes a lot of effort just to go to that post office.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I have to teach my kids what a pen is. Like, believe it or not, people used to put pen to paper, and they're like, no way.
Tell me more about this thing.
They say, WTH, OMG, LOL. I mean, slow down. All right, man. So were you homeless? Did I read that?
Well, see, what ended up happening is I didn't pay my electricity bill for like 6 months. So.
Okay. All right. So what the heck? What is going on? You're hanging out in LA.
Uh-huh.
You got almost 500,000 followers on Twitter. You're doing your TEDx Irvine. You just did that, right? A couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I did that, 2 weeks ago? Was it 2 or was it last week? 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was a week and a half, but who's counting, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm seeing you everywhere. I mean, you're a branding strategist. You're talking about personal branding. So how do you go from not paying your electric bill for 6 months to delivering TEDx Irvine, almost 500,000 followers on Twitter, a Wikipedia page, and you're paid to go on vacations? That's a big jump in a very short amount of time.
That's a great question, Wes. And I wish it had a simple answer.
Hey,
but
we have
really
7 hours blocked off the interview, so go ahead.
7 hours. Okay, hour one, what you have to do. So at first it was, struggle some more and struggle some more. Then me, I'm Korean I believe I'm Korean. 23andMe says I'm not fully Korean, but my parents say they're Korean, and they all think they're Korean. And if you know any Korean people, we're as stubborn as it gets. So we're stuck in our own ways, and we're like, we're going to keep trying to do something until it works. So that's what I did over and over and over and over again. And that just ended up causing me to lose more and more stuff. Because I had this thing where I was running away from my fears. I wasn't really recognizing exactly what I was scared of. And I was just going out there and going, something's coming up. I'm going to run from this, and this. And it turned me into the selfish person who only cared about myself. And I tried taking shortcuts in business. I tried going the short route through everything. And what ended up happening is I wasn't able to get to the next step in my career. And I kept having to start over and over and over and over again. Then one day, after that electricity shut off, I just thought about it for a moment. And I'm like, hey, you know what? If I keep doing what I'm doing, then I'm not going to get anywhere. And I'm going to end up living back with my grandma, which ended up happening too.
No.
So it took a lot of self-reflection in the very beginning to figure out why I wasn't able to make it. What was I doing wrong? And I had to identify the flaws of my character. I was being cocky, arrogant, condescending. And I had to recognize all the bad traits about me and work on those. And, no one wants to identify what's wrong with them, right?
Yeah. How do you do that? Because I just had Alan Reed on. Mm-hmm. And she talked about that, embracing her fear, identifying it, recognizing it, embracing it. And she said, tracing it, right? Because she said, whatever you fear or whatever you fight gets bigger. And so she said she wouldn't fight it. She would embrace it. She would trace it. And then she understood it rather than trying to hide from it, rather than mask it out, right, with some type of new addiction or whatever else that people tend to do when they're struggling. So how do you, people typically, they want to point the finger at somebody else. It's not me, it's you.
Exactly.
Right? So how, you get your electricity cut off. It's like, well, it's the landlord's fault. It's my boss's fault because he didn't give me the raise. And, it's the customer's fault because they're too stupid and they bought the competition. Competition, they have a cheap product. They suck. They're stupid customers. It's the customer's fault I lost my electricity. A lot of people never make that change, that switch. So how did you go, okay, it is me. Let me do some introspection and change?
Well, one thing is after I got out from my grandmother's house and I moved back to LA, I got the opportunity to live on my friend's sofa for about $100 a month. And I was like, oh, this is my lifeline. I'm going to make it now. It really wasn't. But with that opportunity, I got to sit there. And I went out with my former girlfriend one day. And I broke my ankle when I was out with her. And I was stuck on the sofa for about 3 months. And I had a lot of time to reflect. Because, when you have a broken ankle, you're on crutches and you can't really go out with your friends. You can't really, you could drink on the sofa, but that's pretty depressing.
Right.
But I sat there for 3 months going, I can't go out with my friends. I can't do anything. So I had that 3-month time where I could reflect back over all the decisions I made that led me up to where I was. Because I'm a firm believer that where you are today is exactly where you're supposed to be. And me, having that broken ankle on the sofa, laying there, wondering what the hell I was doing with my life. That was exactly where I was supposed to be based off all the events in my life.
Right.
For me, how I recovered from that process is I went through my whole entire life and I kind of went backwards. I'm like, okay, what decision led here? What decision led here? What decision led here? And I was doing a cause and effect type of scenario. And I went to the root issue of the problem. But now for the normal person, that would take months upon months upon months to figure out. My business partner, Ryan Folan, figured out a faster solution for this, which I wish I had at the time. What he does is he gets 2 sets of Post-it notes. Let's say one's green and one's yellow, right? On the green one, he'll write down one word of everything that he can to describe himself, both the good traits and the bad traits, like funny, happy, leader, great speaker, arrogant, cocky, whatever it may be. He'll just put them all out on one side, right? Then with the second set, let's say the yellow ones, he'll go and he'll pass them out to his friends, family members, and colleagues and ask them to be completely honest and write one word on them too. Now, back in 2011, when I used to work at American Honda, all my colleagues used to say, Leonard, you're so arrogant, you're cocky, you're this and that. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And if you do this exercise, people are going to be very honest with you. They're going to tell you exactly how you're perceived, what your personal brand basically is. They'll say you're funny. They'll say you're likable. They'll say you're smart, enthusiastic. Or if you were like me, they'd say you're cocky, arrogant, a douche, and other things. So once you're able to figure all that out, you're able to identify what you need to work on. Now, the hardest part of figuring out what you have to work on is taking responsibility for that. One, you have to recognize what the problem is. Like me, I thought that my problems were other things. I had issues getting close to people. I had issues making friends. I had issues helping other people out. But the true issue behind all of that was that I was scared of being hurt by other people because I've helped people in the past and I got screwed over. And one, I had to recognize what that fear was. And two, I had to, accept and forgive anyone who ever hurt me. And two, take responsibility and realize that maybe they screwed me over because it was my fault and not theirs. So it's taking responsibility for one, and two, going out there and being able to accept and forgive people who screwed you over or whatever in the past.
Yeah, Dan Kennedy talks about that, accepting responsibility. And, he says responsibility equals freedom. He says, hey, I was, driving down the road and a kid hit me in my car. He's like, it's my fault. And they're saying, what do you mean? Kid ran a red light. He says, well, it was my fault. I didn't leave earlier, or that I didn't leave later. I set the appointment. I was driving the car. I put myself in that situation, and I think he takes it to an extreme, but I think you kind of have to do that and just, realize that you're not a victim. You're in control, accept that responsibility for it and just move through life. I think it's the victims that feel like life happens to them, and they're not in control. And those are the ones that end up having deeper issues. Is that kind of what you found?
Yeah, and a good thing that I had in my life to show me this was my mother, because my mom, she's like a victim to like everything. She's like, oh, the reason that my life's like this is because your dad left me. My life's like this because grandma did this. And she always takes that victim mentality throughout everything. And I'm looking at her going, wow, her life isn't so great. If I'm the victim of everything, my life isn't going to be so great either. So that helped push me forward into a direction where I realized that if I took responsibility, maybe I'll be able to go one step or two steps further than she did in her life. And maybe I'll be 1 ounce or 2 ounces happier than she was in her life. Right. So kind of having that situation where I could contrast my life to hers helped me realize that it was probably better to take responsibility.
Right. Well, and that's a big bite to swallow, though. I mean, when was this? Just a few years ago?
Let's see. I didn't pay my electricity bill in 2000. At the end of 2010, I was living with my grandma from the end of 2010 to like mid 2011.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you moved to your friend's couch, right? In 2011?
Yeah, mid 2011. Okay. Then I got an entry-level job, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go back after this American dream.
So how do you go from an entry-level job just 6 years ago to running a business, having this type of influence and exposure? And, that seemed like a big, radical, very, very quick shift.
Yeah, I should have slept on your sofa. It would have been a lot cheaper and it looks more comfy.
I don't know, man. You would have had, well, at that time, so 6 years ago, you would have had 6 kids jumping on your head. And now, well, it'd still be 6 kids because one's away at college. But you got 7, though, jumping on your head and 2 dogs. So I don't know. It's comfortable to a degree, but it's a lot noisier.
Oh, I can see that. It could be interesting. So how did I get from there to here? So for the first 2 years, my whole goal was to get promoted at my job. I showed up early. I wore a suit to work. I worked like no tomorrow. I outperformed my entire department. My stats were like twice everyone else's, but I wasn't getting promoted. And then like everyone said, Leonard, you're cocky, you're arrogant, you're this and that. Like I had that kind of reputation around the office. And 2 years in, I didn't get a raise in those 2 years. I was still earning $16.24 an hour. And we're both in California. You know how far that gets you, right?
Right.
Nowhere. You can't afford a car. You have to take the bus to work. And it was so bad. It was to the point where I had to go from eating 2 meals a day to 1 meal a day. I had to start skipping lunch because when Obamacare came out and taxes raised like $80 a month, that was my lunch money.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was like, how long do I want to live this way where I can't eat lunch? And I realized that I needed to do something or else I'd be screwed and I'd be stuck in this situation getting poorer and poorer every single year. So I put my all into 3 different things. 1, I applied to 100 different jobs. I got 3 interviews. No one hired me.
Wow.
2, I went back to school and was like, oh, everyone goes back to school. Maybe that's going to work. So I spent some time doing that. Well, I don't know what that turned into. I mean, I learned some stuff. It was great. Yeah, it helped. And the third thing I did was I was like, you know what? I need to go out there and I need to share all my failures with the world so others wouldn't have to go through what I experienced. So I did that. And within 6 months of doing that, I had like 2 million reads on my content.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, whoa, something worked. So within the first year and a half, I didn't really have a game plan behind what I was doing. I was just writing because I just got passionate about it. Like on the bus ride to work, I take out my little BlackBerry and type up 1 to 2 posts. When I was at work, I'm like, okay, the phones aren't ringing. I could write a post now. On the way home, I'd take a nap, wake up, and write some more. On like Christmas, New Year's, every single major holiday, I'd be writing some more. And that's the reason why it accumulated so quickly. Within a year and a half, I had like 10 million reads. And by that point, that's when I thought maybe I should figure out how to monetize all of this.
Right. So just laying it out there. I mean, did you have just your own website, or is it just social media?
Well, when I first started out, I was using a website called Quora, which is an online knowledge market.
Yep.
It's like a sophisticated Yahoo Answers.
Right.
On that site, like, that's where I started. I started writing, and maybe like 5 months in, I had enough traction to the point where I was like, whoa, I need to make a website. So I didn't start out with a website. I was just starting out because I just needed something to do, something to take my mind off of my horrible job. I was like, okay, maybe I should do this writing thing. So once I saw I was getting enough traction, that's when I realized I needed to make a website.
Right. So what was your entry-level job? I mean, was it related to marketing at all, or was it just something just to put food on the table?
It was, like warranty work. Like someone would be like, oh, my transmission blew out on my car. Are you guys going to help me? And we need to say, okay. Or we'd be like, oh, find a happy place to cry.
Right.
Yeah.
So it had nothing to do with marketing and branding.
No, it was one of those jobs where I thought I could just get in at any position and work my way up. It just didn't happen like that. So
you got 10 million reads in 18 months. You don't have a website. So now you build a website, but nobody would really know about it, right? Unless you were posting on Quora and sending them back to there. But then what do you put on your website that you didn't already put on Quora, right? So how do you balance that and start shifting the scale so the traffic starts to come to you?
Well, the great thing about the internet is you can put your content in as many places as you want, and you can use your website as a home base for all of that. So that's what I started to do. I just put the exact same stuff that was on every other site onto my website, and people just came back. But the difference was I had an About Me page, I had a subscribe button, and some other things on my website, like things that I would do for money and how you could hire me for services. So that helped, like, boost my income because people would be able to, 1, go to my website, 2, see what I did, and 3, hire me for the work that I offered.
Okay, but you're still doing this warranty work, right?
Yeah.
But people are following you. You got a website. How do you begin to even price an offer, right? Because you're talking about your feelings and experiences. How did you know, like, what to even offer, right? Were people asking you about branding and marketing, and you said, I'll be a consultant for $50 an hour, $500 an hour? How do you make that transition?
Well, at first, like anyone who's wobbling into new space, I kind of went out there and offered my services for free, which probably was a really bad idea. Which I quickly recognized. Then I started, charging like low rates, like maybe like $50 an article, $200 a consultation, things like that. Then as time went by, I just like double my rates, and now it's pretty expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
So were you becoming a student of marketing and branding, right? Because it's one thing to just express yourself. So that's fine. I feel a connection to you. We're like these kindred spirits. Okay, great. But I don't make the leap. Hey, Leonard, can you help me with branding? Because I just read about how you didn't have lunch money. How do you make that transition? And how did you have the confidence, right? Because you weren't doing it necessarily, right? But I'm assuming as things started to snowball, you started to get educated and put some structure to your own branding, right?
Well, back in 2005, 2006, I used to do sales, so I kind of had those skills already.
Okay.
Then in 2007 to 2011-ish, somewhere around there, like I tried doing marketing for a few different companies and startups. The only problem was those startups failed, so they didn't still exist. Like I wouldn't say I was the best. I wouldn't say I was the best marketer at the time. I'd say I was pretty good at what I did. But like for one company, we were able to go from zero in revenue to like $50,000 a month in revenue within 3 months. So that was a combination of marketing and sales. I didn't do all the sales. I did some of them, but I was mostly handled by the sales team. But you can't get those sales without at least decent marketing. And with another company, we brought on we went from 100 to 1,100 vendors who accepted our membership within 9 months. And all these companies were underfunded. We had enough money to barely do payroll, barely. And it was just running until the money ran out. And I was able to kind of prove that I could do marketing in those other areas. The problem for me is every single thing that I put my effort into, since they all fell apart, my resume was full of broken hopes and dreams. And let's say someone wanted to interview me for a position. They'll be looking up this company. I'm CLN. Oh, this company doesn't exist. What's this thing on his resume? Is he really as good as he says he is? And I couldn't really prove that I was a decent marketer to anyone. So when it came time for me to go and write my own stories, I was taking that marketing background I already had, and instead of marketing a company, I kind of marketed myself. So how do you go into that transition of moving back to a marketing person? It was kind of engraved in there in the very beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So you did have some experience, some background, and then you're getting some followers. And so you say, okay, subscribe. What were they subscribing to? Was it an RSS news feed, just an update, or were you starting to create some type of email newsletter, like a weekly or monthly type thing?
It was an RSS update, basically with the new articles I would post on my blog, which I haven't posted for a long time and should probably start again.
So, all right. So this is slowly growing. Your people are reading you on Core and everything else, and the traffic's coming. And then, but this is what, 2012, 2013 time frame?
I started writing in 2013 in May. I had 2 million reads by December 31st. And the following December 31st, I had 10 million reads. So that was 2014.
And so were you consciously building the social media profile as well? And
yeah, my main focus at that time was Quora. After I kind of figured out exactly how Quora worked, I moved on to Twitter. Then now I'm kind of on Instagram, so I'm going one platform at a time, figuring out how it all works. And now I'm trying to move back into LinkedIn.
Gotcha.
It's hard to master them all. It's easy to take it one at a time, master one platform, then move on to the next.
Right. Can you maintain it though once it gets to a certain level?
Yeah, once you get to a certain level, it's like putting it on autopilot and it just runs itself. For one company, I've been able to build their content calendar out for a whole year, where when year 2 came around, it's there's really not much to do anymore except tiny little tweaks.
Right. So are you using a lot of automation and like Meet Edgar or things like that, buffer things to preload your social media?
I don't trust tools. I trust people. Okay. So I use people to do that.
Cool. So, overseas VAs, interns, high dollar people?
My prior assistant, she was a 17-year-old sister of my friend, but then she went to college and got overwhelmed. So now it's currently a guy who broke his ankle and needs money for it. Oh, and then another intern I got recently, she tweeted me on Twitter, and she said, how many retweets for an internship? And I asked her, what do you think's reasonable? And she said 2,000. And I'm like, that's impossible. And she went out there and got 2,000 retweets in a day. So I have another intern too.
She got 2,000 retweets of one of your posts, or she retweeted 2,000 of your posts?
One of her posts asking for an internship got retweeted 2,000 times.
Oh.
And I was like, that's impossible.
So she said, Leonard, you need to hire me. And she got people to retweet that 2,000 times.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It is pretty awesome. I have like 2 tweets with 2,000 retweets.
How did she do it?
If you read her post, it's very genuine. It's asking for help. It's very altruistic. She went and asked her friends. I retweeted it, which I probably shouldn't have done.
So you helped her.
Yeah. I'm like, there's no way she's going to do this. Let me just click retweet and help webs. What did I do?
That's awesome. And was she local or she remote?
She lives in Vegas.
Okay. Have y'all met, or is it all remote?
It's all remote. She said she was going to come to my TEDx. She didn't show up. Or if she did, I didn't see her.
Did you see that dude that got chicken nuggets or whatever from Wendy's for a year?
Yeah, she followed that same concept.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Because it was 18 million, Wendy's said?
Yeah, I think he broke Ellen's record, too.
He broke some record, and he didn't get the 18 million, but he got 2.5 or 4 million or 7 or so. He got a lot very quickly. And Wendy said, "Hey, good on you. Here's your whatever nuggets for a year." It was really cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I want free nuggets for a year. Should we try this?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it.
Dude, I got kids to feed, man. I mean nuggets. I'll take whatever. Day old bread for a year. Give me that, right? That's not too much to ask, is it?
No, it's not. Let's get all the day old bread we could get.
Dude, I'll eat the bruised bananas. Okay? You know? I'm not picky, man.
We found the bruised banana eater. We should title this podcast "The Bruised Banana Eaters" on there.
Hashtag. All right, hold on. I'm typing it up. Hashtag bruised banana eaters. All right.
Got it.
I'll put Easters. That wouldn't be good. Eaters. So you got this young kid. She's got some gumption, some motivation. Does she learn your voice and create stuff for you, or is it still, are you providing things and she's scheduling? You know, how does that work?
Well, Deborah, the lady who lives out in Las Vegas, the first thing I assigned for her to do was to create a PowerPoint for me. And I asked her, what article do you think that I wrote you should translate into a PowerPoint? She picked 2. The first one, she did it like it was a college assignment. And I'm like, I don't think this is going to fly. Like, let me ask you a question. If this was Oprah, if I was Oprah and I was sharing this, do you think anyone would take me seriously, or would this give me any credibility or anything? And she's like, no. I'm like, would you share it if you were Oprah? And she's like, no. So she went back to the drawing board, worked on another one, and made it 10 times better. And I was like, wow, this is pretty impressive. I mean, she's in college, so you can't expect her to knock it out the gate the first time around. And from there, it was just basically giving tiny feedback here and there, helping her clean up the copy, making it look a little bit better. But we published it on LinkedIn, so it's up there now. And it's not that bad.
So basically, she's just repurposing things that you've done and helping to spread the word.
Exactly. And she asked what else she could do next. And I'm like, what do you think you should do? And she's like, why don't I write up an article talking about all these different social media strategies and this and that? I'm like, oh, sure. I want to see what it looks like. So she's working on that now, too.
Cool.
Yeah.
So just one person knocks all that out for you?
Well, the other person's a guy with a broken ankle.
Okay. Oh, so you got 2 still?
Yeah.
How do you divide, division of labor? How do you decide who does what? Like, does Deborah do like just Twitter and LinkedIn, and the other guy does Facebook and Instagram, or how do you?
Well, I didn't actually remember all the assignments that I gave to Vivian, who was my prior assistant. So I made Vivian, when she quit, write up a full list of instructions on what she did. And I'm like, okay, here you go. Just follow all these instructions to the T. If you have questions, ask Vivian.
Well, you better stay good. You better have a good relationship with Vivian for a little while, huh?
Yeah, that's going to stay a good relationship for a while because she knows how everything works. I don't.
That's awesome. So, well, let's get Vivian. Can you conference her in real quick?
How do you conference someone in?
Send her this link. Tell her to hop on. Because, you want to make sure you're efficient, right? You don't want people doing duplicate things. And, do they have like graphics ability? I mean, are they like knock out something simple in Canva just so there's some artwork with the post? How do you keep things pretty? How are they engaging? How do they know like what's the CTA of each little post? There's a lot of nuances that go on in there.
There are a lot of nuances that go in there. Vivian basically taught my current assistant exactly what to do. Like, she taught him how to use Canva, how to use all these posting tools, these graphic tools, and everything like that. What's the CTA? That's a bigger discussion.
I mean, are you doing it, or do you just have like some advanced ways that you figure it out?
Well, not every single post has a CTA. I'd say 80% of what I do is branding and 20% has a CTA. And usually the stuff with the CTA I do myself. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense because that can be tough, right? You want to have the right call to action on things, and that's not something people are just going to immediately understand. How to create that for you.
Yeah, and I don't think I really trust an outside person to really be creating my CTAs, right? Unless they've had a lot of experience with sales or marketing or campaigns like this in the past. And right. I don't think I pay my current assistant enough money to have that kind of experience.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's some advanced stuff. It is. Do you post natively in the apps, or do you use like an aggregator or, like a Hootsuite or a Buffer, to send out the posts?
I have them post natively.
Cool.
Yeah.
And how far in advance do you pre-schedule things? Because there's a benefit obviously to like loading up the calendar, and because we always know when the 4th of July is, right? So you can preload something there, but what if something's in the news, and things obviously change? So, how much of it is evergreen versus, hey, let's use the news and create something timely?
Most of my content's evergreen. I don't play the news route because what you do is you get a huge spike of traffic of people who don't care about what you have going on, so they just leave.
Yeah.
If you have an advertising platform and you monetize strictly off of advertisement, it's great to play that route. But if you have real business, then it really hurts. It wastes your time.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. So are they just repurposing then? Or are you still making new stuff based around a theme, right? Around Father's Day or 4th of July or, things like that?
They're repurposing. I mean, when you get 10 million reads, you have a lot of content that already exists.
Right. Sure.
So it's a lot of repurposing. I was meaning to start making new content at the beginning of this year, but I went through a breakup, and then I decided to take a vacation. Then I decided to spend money and have some fun for a while. So I kind of took a break for a while. Right. But I'm thinking of getting back to that content calendar pretty soon because I laid out a whole content calendar for a year for new content. I just haven't got to it.
So that was your own calendar to create new content?
Correct.
Okay. But in the meantime, you have your assistants say, basically, go back through all the stuff I've created and create something interesting to bubble it back up.
Yeah, change out this picture, put a few links here and there, change up the title a little bit, repost it, things like that. It's all a system.
Yeah. So are they okay? So they're actually going to that post and editing the actual post and republishing.
Well, they'll put like maybe 3 links into the post to boost up SEO a little bit. They'll go and look at the title, then put it into BuzzSumo and see what they could do to make a better title. They'll go and make a social intro for the post.
Right.
If something is controversial, they'll think about not posting it, or I hope they think about not posting it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it seems like everything's controversial nowadays.
That's true.
Yeah, that's all right. That's interesting. Very cool. And so now they're just. How long do you think it took them to become proficient and efficient?
I think my current assistant, it took him a month.
Okay. And are they full time?
He works in the morning, and I think he works 30 minutes a day.
Oh my gosh, that's it?
I think so.
Awesome.
Like max, he would work an hour a day. There's not that much to do to keep it running.
Right. So why have 2 assistants if there's that little work?
Because she asked me if she could have an internship, and she got 2,000 retweets, and I didn't know what else to do.
So how busy is she?
Well, she has a job, and she also goes to school full time.
Okay.
So her turnaround time is a lot longer.
Right.
And I don't expect anything back really quickly.
Right.
Like I expect if I give her a project, they'll be back to me in a month.
So is she creating new stuff for you?
She's creating new things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why it takes her longer. So she has a totally different role than your other guy.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
The other guy is like kind of keeping the wheel spinning,
right, while
she's going in and adding new things into the wheel,
right,
or adding food to the wheel,
right. So, building up like a huge following on Twitter, and now you're focusing on Instagram. Are you the one that built it, and now they can help maintain it, or did they help build it, and are they helping build the next platform that you master?
All they do is maintenance.
Okay.
I build everything, which takes time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, I agree. That's because otherwise, I've gone through this as well. Like I'm diving into Google AdWords and paid traffic. I haven't had to master it, and I've put it off. I've got some goals that I want to hit, and I'm gonna have to do a little bit of paid traffic. And I've had people work with me here and there, and like you get a little result, you get a little spike here, but then, all of a sudden, like your budget blows up. It's like, are y'all watching this? I had another one, that they're running ads to a landing page with content and links to an outdated webinar, for like 9 days. And I'm the one that notices. I'm like, remind me why I'm paying y'all again. I mean, so it's like, okay, I'll learn this. I'll learn it. I'll build the team. I'll give them the instructions, tell them to go execute. It's kind of saddening, really, how many people, they don't have that attention to detail for you.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's good vendors and there's bad vendors. I mean, if I had a different start, and I had a successful exit, and I had millions in the bank, I'd go and hire everyone to go build everything for me.
Right.
But since I didn't, that's why I have to learn how everything works on my own.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like being at least conversant. I don't necessarily want to be the pro at it, but you got to know where all the knobs and buttons are, right? So at least what levers to pull. So at least you don't get the wool pulled over your eyes, right?
That's true. I'd say fairly good at most things, and I'm an expert at a few things.
Right. So what kind of mistakes do you see? What do people make in branding? And this is an interesting conversation for me because I've always worked with companies, and I tell them, you build your brand over time by doing great work. Do good marketing, do good selling, under promise, over deliver, and spread the word. And you'll build a brand. Would you say your approach is a little different? I mean, can you take even a small company or somebody with a small presence and build a big brand, even though they might still be small or new in the marketplace?
That's actually probably my expertise, taking someone like that and building them up. What I find is the biggest mistake that most companies and people make is they don't humanize themselves. They try to stick themselves into a box or try to be something that they're not. Like, imagine, like, you can see I'm like laid back and relaxed right now. If I tried to be like Gary Vaynerchuk and I tried to build my brand that way and I tried to do that for years straight, I'd either A, jump off a bridge, or B, like, hate my work like no tomorrow because I'd be faking it every single day. And so many people try to make their brand into something that they're not. Right. Or they go the other route and they try to showcase themselves as the expert. And what ends up happening when you're the expert? You have 100 other people that Gary Vee told to go out there and be experts, all competing with the same content, all with the same content that all looks the same. It's like, okay, how do I tell who's better and who's worse? It all looks the same to me. And you have this whole pool of people, and you're like, I don't know what to choose. So what really makes people stand out is adding in their personality and making themselves relatable while tying in their expertise at the same time.
So does that mean like a chiropractor that likes eating day-old bread, you can help build him a presence by humanizing that?
Well, like, let's use a doctor, for example. A normal person would think of a doctor as very intimidating, someone that's highly respected, and they'd probably be a little scared to talk to one, right?
Right.
So what do you have to do with a doctor? You have to humanize them. You have to make them more relatable. You have to bring them down to earth so people go, oh, they're just like me. So how do you do that? You talk about what their bucket list is. You talk about what their goals are. You talk about why they were inspired to go to medical school. You talk about what they do on the job. You talk about their favorite book, things like that humanize and bring them back down to reality so they don't look like this untouchable creature that's like a god. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then on the other end of the spectrum, like, let's say you have this little kid who's out there and they're 17 years old, and they want to be respected as a business authority. I mean, who's going to give a 17-year-old credit? The only way you get credit as a 17-year-old is if you're humble, hungry, and honest, and you're going out there and you're eager to learn. Right. And if you have that kind of brand associated to yourself, then people will buy into you, and they're like, oh, yeah, come here, let me teach you this, let me teach you that. And they're more willing to help you out. And along the way, you make money and connections, too. So there's two different ends of the spectrum. You just have to know how to play each one.
Yeah, you mean those kids, those 18-year-old kids with the gel in their hair sticking straight up and T-shirts and a Rolex on a jet? You mean that's not like always real? Is that what you're saying?
Are you saying that you pay for that?
No, I see a lot.
Daddy Wes.
I'm like, all right, who's this dude?
Yeah, I mean, sure, you may have got lucky, but chances are you probably didn't, and you just took your parents' money and spent it all on this video shoot.
That's awesome. Well, man, this has been fantastic. Where should we send people to learn more about your branding?
Sure. I have a course that teaches you everything you need to know to build a personal brand, get featured in publications, and grow your social media following at influencetree.com. That's influencetree.com. And you can find me at Twitter at Mr. Leonard Kim.
Very nice. And so now we have to go get 2001 retweets of bruised banana eaters. Do you think we can do
Let's do it. No, but let's try.
Should we put a timeline on this, or will this be like eternal? Like if 40 years from now, if it happens, is that still a success?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's put no timeline.
Or should we do like a 40-day time limit?
Let's do a 40-year time limit so we can retweet it every day and see if we could get like 2 retweets a day.
My son, he's going to study in Seoul, Korea. So he'll be there September 1st. So should he go? I saw where they had like this bank of phones. Have you seen that? They were all plugged in, and it was like all these fake accounts.
Oh,
how they get all those?
I saw that.
Yeah, is that in China? Was that Korea? Where was that?
I think that was like in the Philippines or something.
The Philippines? Oh, well, he'll be close to the Philippines. So we'll send him down to the Philippines and get him to one of those phone banks, and we'll get those retweets in like 5 minutes.
Oh, sure. Let's do that.
All right, we'll do that. Does that count?
I don't think it does, but there's no other way to get these Bruce Bananas retweeted.
No, dude. I think you and I can do it.
Okay, let's try.
All right, get ready, because as soon as we hang up, I'm going to post something. So
okay, tag me in it.
And then it's going to happen. I feel it. All right, man. Well, hey, the invitation stands. Come on out to Temecula. Drink a little wine. We have a brewery tour, right? We got some micro brews out here. So if you're into beer, we got that too. So come on out. I'll introduce you to some of my lady friends. My wife has a lot of friends. So we're going to hook you up, all right? You just got to get here.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
All right, man.
I don't know when, but I'll make it down.
Just get in your Uber and just get here, all right?
Okay, that $300 Uber ride it is.
It'll be worth it.
Okay.
All right, man. Leonard Kim, all the way from L.A. Thanks for coming on the Sales Podcast, man. It's been awesome.
Anytime, Wes. Thanks for having me.
All right, have a great day.
Bye.
So have you retweeted our Bruised Banana Eaters hashtag yet? Come on. It's for the kids. That was a little bit of a crazy episode, huh? I hope you got a lot out of it. Apologize for the sound kind of in and out. Leonard was just walking around the office doing it on his iPhone, and, I just let the guy riff and do his thing. I did not want to get him bound up sitting in one particular area. But I love the way he, just dug into the questions. I wanted to get specifics because there's so many little things. And I took a lot of notes from this on how he uses interns, how he uses assistants, the mix between evergreen content, republishing, repurposing content. I've been doing that now for the better part of a year. And it's an excellent strategy, but I still have some refinements to do based on this episode. I'm already talking to my assistants on telling them to listen to this and sharing ideas on how we can do that. I appreciate that he creates the new stuff, and that to me is very important. I don't like handing over content creation and things like that to somebody else. I'm happy to have somebody consult with me, give some ideas, maybe enhance it, but I've always said, marketing is the toughest thing to outsource. Nobody's going to love your business like you will. Nobody's going to have your voice. So learn to love and embrace marketing, and clearly he has. And he's teaching people how to do this. The nice thing is the things that he's doing are transferable, right? There's a difference between talent and transferable tactics or techniques. And while he's got a talent, he's got a knack for this, he's self-taught and he's teaching others. So check out that influence tree. It's a good program. Stay in touch with Leonard. We've been playing along for the last day or so since we did this interview, and it's been fun seeing people chime in. And that's really what social media should be about. I mean, people forget to be sociable. So have a little fun with it. Let's see if it can grow, and then think of ways you can do similar things, to grow your business. Give your employees or your prospective employees homework. Give them assignments. I've done this with web designers for years. I do it with VAs. I put salespeople through the ringer. I've got a program I haven't talked a lot about called No More Sales Duds. If you hire salespeople and you're tired of hiring duds, check that out. NoMoreSalesDuds.com. It outlines specifically how to write the ad, even some ads you can use that really screen candidates. We get very detailed in how you give them instructions, the windows of time they can call in, what they do with the resume, how you then test them to see if they're really motivated to do the job. So I like the way Leonard gave us specifics on that. So, make sure this is one you really need to sit down and write out, take some notes and some action plans from this interview. I already have, and it'll help you as well. All right. If you need help with some clarity on that, and you might, I get it. All right, I've been doing this now for 11 years, 260-something episodes, a lot of time with experts, and I get to really pick their brain and dive in. So if you need some affordable help, if you would like to pick my brain, check that out, digdeep.today. Sign up for the IPA there, the initial process assessment. You'll get the questionnaire. We'll spend some time together, recorded sessions that you can keep and access and review forever. And I'll help you get on the right track. So check that out, digdeep.today. Sign up because it's first come, first serve. And the longer you wait, the longer you'll wait to get the help you need. So thanks for listening. Please share this. Please give me a 5-star review. And as always, remember to sell different.